the age of 23, I read a book that completely changed my life. Now, in that book, they talked about the ability to use property investing to create a passive income stream for life. Now, over the last 15 years, I've picked up a whole bunch of lessons from talking to thousands of investors. And in today's video, I wanted to share a super simple idea you can use to create $8,000 per month or $100,000 per year of passive income for life. Now, obviously, there are many different ways to get from where you are today to financial freedom, but this simple strategy is called the 3 properties to financial freedom strategy. So the first step or the first phase is called accumulation, and this is effectively where we go out and buy the properties or the assets that will make you financially free in the future. Now, for some people, you're in an extremely strong position and you can go out there and accumulate the assets that you need to be free in the future in a very short period of time, between 1 to sort of 5 years. For other people, it might be a longer term journey where they literally pick up one property every 5 years or so longer term. But basically with this strategy, we go out there and we buy 3 houses that are each worth $500,000 that each rent for $500 per week. So if we look at 1 plus 2 plus 3 houses, we're sitting on about $1.5 million worth of total value. And if we look at the weekly rents, 500 plus 500 plus 500's $1,500 a week times 50 weeks per year, giving us around about $75,000 per year of total income today, or when you complete this first part or the accumulation phase of your journey. Now, the accumulation phase is obviously the toughest part of being an investor. This is where we've got to save money, we've got to use equity, where we're working the hardest, where we've got the different bits and pieces moving. We've got to work with solicitors, building and pest inspectors, town planners, and all of those other people like property managers to make sure we're doing the right thing. It can also be a super confusing phase as you decide on where you want to invest, what type of properties you want to accumulate, and finding the right suburb, which is like a needle in a haystack. I personally also think the accumulation phase or the buying phase is the funnest part of your journey as an investor as well, which is where you're in the trenches and getting dirty and figuring everything out. And I think this part of the journey has always, for me personally, been the funnest part. The second step of the journey, I'm actually going to talk after I talk about this third step. Now, the third step is where we arrive 15 years after we complete step 1. Now, I call this phase financial freedom or choices, and this is where you really get to live your life on your own terms, doing the things that are important to you. Now, basically, like I talked about in step 1, that was where we went out there and bought the 3 houses worth $1.5 million each, the rent for $75K per year. Now, 15 years after you complete that step, if you've held those 3 properties and they grow by an average of 4.8% per annum, you should be sitting on $3 million worth of property. And I'll talk about step 2, which is how to pay that debt off in a moment. And if we look at the rent, those 3 properties at $75,000 a year, increasing by 2.5% per annum for the next 15 years after step 1, we'll be sitting on more than $100,000 per year of income or $8,000 per month. Now, it doesn't have to be any more complicated than that. So let's get into step 2, which is where we spend most of our time, and that is how we pay off the debt. Now, the second phase or the second step on your journey to creating $8,000 per month from your properties for life is the consolidation phase. Now, this is the most important part of your journey as an investor, but nobody talks about this phase. Now, if you think about the buying phase, depending on your financial position, it could take 1 year to buy 3 properties or 5 to 10. But the consolidation phase historically, based on paying principal and interest to the bank, which is the first idea we have, generally takes 30 years. But if you're anything like me, the last thing you want to do is wait 30 years to achieve your $8,000 per month in passive income, and you want to bring that time frame forward. So obviously, if you do it with principal and interest, then you're looking at about a 30-year time frame according to the banks. The next thing that I do for each of those properties is pay a little bit extra off each of them per week. Now, the cool thing about step 1 is you get in the habit when you're buying property of saving money. Now, that habit doesn't go away once you finish buying the properties that will make you free in the future. So if you can allocate about $100 per week per property over that 15 years after you've bought them all, it can take a massive amount of the pain away longer term and the debt as well. Now, obviously with some properties here in Australia, you get some tax benefits. Obviously talk to your accountant and your tax depreciation specialist. But if you were to own these 3 properties and let's say you got $2,000 or $3,000 per year back at tax time from the 3 properties, I'd suggest that that small tax benefit that you receive goes straight into paying off debt as well, and that can bring things forward even further. Now, the next thing is when you first buy the properties, obviously the debt's going to be at the highest level and the rent's going to be at the lowest level. But over time, that rent increases and the debt comes down and you're left with a surplus or extra bit of rent every single week. Now, let's say in 5 years' time after you've bought the 3 properties for $500K, the rents are all of a sudden at $700 a week, but the debt on the properties is only sitting at $400. You're capturing about $100 per week of each of those properties of passive income, which you can use to again wipe off the debt way faster than just sitting on principal and interest for 30 years. Now, the last thing that I do is called a partner property strategy. And basically all I do there is I go out there and buy one more property with the sole intention of buying the best property that is most undervalued, that I can add as much value to as possible in the best market in Australia. And then I hold that property for 10 or 15 years. And once it's gone up in value, I sell that partner property to wipe off as much of the debt as possible after I obviously pay the tax and all of those things to the government. So paying off debt or the consolidation phase is probably the least fun part of your journey as an investor, but this is the most fun part of your journey as a person. Now, so many people I talk to think about financial freedom and how happy they'll be and how full their life will be in 15 or 20 years when they get there, and so many of them miss this moment. But if you think about it, once you've bought those 3 properties, you actually do have financial peace because you know in the future you'll be able to get that $8,000 per month of passive income for life once you own them outright. So after you've done the buying phase and you move into consolidation, this is where you chill out, you sit back. It might be the time where you can cut back on that really high paying job a little bit. Maybe your partner doesn't have to go to work as often. Maybe you can take Fridays off or take more holidays. And it's really where you lean into becoming the person that you see yourself as and the best version of yourself, enjoying the entire journey on the way to financial freedom, not just getting to financial freedom at the end and hoping everything's going to be okay. So hope you've enjoyed this short video today. It's the 3 properties to financial freedom strategy. The first phase being accumulation, the second phase being consolidation, and the third phase, which I'm personally still waiting for as an investor, which is the choices or the freedom phase. Now, for those of you out there who are seriously thinking about buying a property in the next 6 to 12 months, then I would love to offer you a one-on-one strategy session where we can talk about where you are right now, where you'd like to be longer term. We can educate you on this strategy in more detail, as well as a number of others that could get you there even faster. And then you can take that information with a grain of salt and go and absolutely smash it on your own, or potentially become one of the extremely small number of clients that we work with each month. But either way, we truly wish you all the best on your journey. And to book that session, just jump over to www.pumpedonproperty.com and click that free strategy session button. Have a great day.
Woo! That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
Getting
Have a
cool,
spin.
bro. Yeah. Oh, sweaty. So sweaty. Oh, that's good. Look at that.
So nice, eh?
Oh.